Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Doc Podcast. I am Dr. Omar Chughtai, and today we have a very special guest. Mazen Mokhtar is the CEO of Bait-ul-Maal U.S.A. He has had a storied career in IT and in the humanitarian sector, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's such a privilege to have you here, and so happy that things worked out and we were able to do an interview here in Dallas.
It's my pleasure, and I'm very happy to be here.
Tell me about Baitulmaal. What is Baitulmaal? Because we have a Baitulmaal in Pakistan,
Yes,
and that's a government organization,
correct.
and they do great work.
Yeah.
But when I talk to people about Baitulmaal in Pakistan, they think about that organization. But that's not the organization that you're leading.
No.
So tell me about Baitulmaal USA.
Bait-ul-Maal is an international humanitarian relief organization. We work in 27 countries.
Wow.
We are an independent organization. We are not a governmental organization. And we are not funded by governments either. We are funded by donors like you. We work in several sectors. One of them is disaster response. One of them is sustainability, like clean water and food. And one of them is development, which is what we love the most, which allows people to break the cycle of poverty. And then finally, there's Islamic giving, such as udhiyah or things like that. So these are the four major areas where we work. We started and we continue to be headquartered here in Irving, Texas. So we're a Texas organization. In the beginning, the organization focused on Palestine and Jordan, but then it grew. So now we work in Africa, we work in West Asia, we work in South Asia. We work here in the United States and in Mexico. So alhamdulillah, we have expanded quite a bit.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And how did you become affiliated or associated with the organization?
So it was a chance encounter, if you will.
Okay.
So I was working in IT, and my background is IT. And I took a break from my IT career to take a position as the executive director of the Muslim American Society.
Okay.
I was a volunteer in the Muslim American Society from the time it was founded, and I was involved in it at different capacities. And when I had that opportunity, I thought it was a nice break from my normal career, and it is closer to my passion. After 5 years in the Muslim American Society, I was all set to going back to IT. And it so happens that the board chair at Baitulmaal, who is a person who I happen to know personally, approached me about this. He didn't even know that I was transitioning out of Muslim American Society going back to IT. Just happens to approach me. And also a wonderful, wonderful lady called Alia Salim, who was living here. She lives in California now. She recommended my name as a potential CEO for Baitulmaal. And my initial thinking is, well, I have experience in business, I have experience in nonprofit, but I don't really have experience in humanitarian relief. So my initial inclination was to say no, basically. And my wife encouraged me. She said, but this is what you love to do. And I thought to myself, well, that is what I love to do.
Yeah.
So I had an opportunity to speak again to Abdul Khabir, the board chair. And as we were discussing, he said the magic words. He said, look, the organization is going through a transition, so you consider it a blank slate. And when he said that were the magic words. Because in my mind, that presented a challenge. How can I take an organization that was a small organization, alhamdulillah, doing good work in many places, but a small organization, to becoming really a large, successful organization that is at the leading edge of humanitarian relief. And I don't mean within the Muslim sector, just at the leading edge of humanitarian relief. That was a challenge that I took on 8 years ago, and that has driven me since then. Alhamdulillah, we've had many opportunities to grow. We've had the opportunity to go into places we weren't before, to do work that we couldn't do before. So that has been maybe the most interesting chapter in my life so far.
I'm so happy, and I completely hear you about your wife encouraging you. Many of the good things that I've done in my life, it was my wife encouraging me to do the difficult thing.
The best thing in my life is my wife.
Yes.
And in critical moments in my life, she provided the push to, no, this is what you need to do next.
Yes.
And she's been right every time.
Very true. Very true. Okay, so Baitulmaal, and under your stewardship now, it's been 8 years.
Yes.
And you said that the scope of work has expanded. So to give me an idea about the kind of work that you're doing, what would be the top 5 projects that you guys are working on right now?
The biggest single area where we're working right now is Palestine for the last 3 years for obvious reasons.
Yes.
And the organization always had a strong presence in Palestine, both in the West Bank and in Gaza. Strong projects, continuing projects, every single year. But with the humanitarian crisis that started in Gaza, we really put a lot of effort there. So that's one area where we put a lot of effort. Another really exciting project. For the longest time, Bait-ul-Maal built schools. We had different projects in different areas, but we didn't own anything.
Mm-hmm.
We would have donor-funded projects. Starting last year, for the first time, we started a collection of projects that are Bait-ul-Maal branded. What really, a thing that defines Bait-ul-Maal is the concept of compassion and the concept of hope. In fact, our tagline is, turn your compassion into hope. And I think that really captures what we try to do. We have compassionate people. It's not Bait-ul-Maal that gives, it's our donors.
Mm-hmm.
And that translates into hope for people who deserve that hope all around the world. So we built the Hope School in Gaza. And we did it, if you recall, last year there was the closure in Gaza.
Yes.
For the longest time, aid couldn't come out. We had no interruption in aid because while we could not bring food from outside, we had help delivered inside. We had Hope School, which was a base for us. Through it, we provided education in the beginning for 1,200 students, growing to about 2,000 now.
Wow.
In the school, we were able to provide psychological support. Through our presence, we had water desalination, which was uninterrupted. We had medical missions, continuing medical missions. I think we passed 20 now. Wow. One would end, we would start the next one. So while there is a closure and while there's an embargo, if you prepare ahead of time, there are many things you can do.
Yeah.
So that was our first branded project. Then after that, we built 3 hospitals in East Africa, plus a special needs center in Kenya, in Wajir, in Somalia, in Mogadishu, and in Uganda as well. 3 different areas in collaboration with Dr. Mahmoud Al-Gazzar, who started a project 20 years ago, the Kibuli Muslim Hospital, and it grew into a hospital system. In fact, I just came back the day before yesterday from the groundbreaking ceremony in Wajir for the Bait-ul-Maal Hospital there.
That's incredible. So you're doing work in multiple countries on multiple fronts. And,
Yes.
and it's not just crisis response, it's actually long-term development also.
Absolutely. And that's what we love to do the most.
Yeah. And then I read about this bakery project. Tell me about this
Yes.
bakery in Khan Yunis in Palestine. What's that all about?
So, how do you provide food in an area where it is difficult to provide food? The first bakery project that we did was in collaboration with another organization in Yemen.
Okay.
And we thought it was a wonderful project. It was a relatively medium cost, low cost project, high impact. And in an area where, like here in the United States, we suffer from too much food. So you want to cut your calories. But in areas where food is scarce and it's very difficult to come by, bread is an excellent way to provide the calories that people need on a daily basis. And that was the beginning of the project. Alhamdulillah, it's been continuing now for more than 2 years. And it grew since then. And alhamdulillah, it's one of the ways in which we're able to provide food, again, in the middle of a crisis.
That's incredible. What compels somebody to leave a very promising career in IT, in tech, and jump ship to the Muslim American Society? How did that happen?
I got the bug. It's I don't think of it really as leaving IT as much as it is being pulled into humanitarian relief. Humanitarian relief is enormously rewarding. And you feel like you are doing something that is really worthwhile. My education was in engineering. I'm a computer science and engineering graduate. And when I graduated and I started working, my first company was IBM, where I worked. There was something missing. I feel that my education and my career was all directed toward dealing with things and numbers rather than people. And my mother, rahimahullah, she pointed this out. She told me once, Mazen, you're smart, but you're not people smart. And I thought for a second, I told her, you know what? Wallahi, you're right. It's so true. And from that time on, right after graduating, I became truly interested, for example, in the humanities, history, and the history of thought, and which I wasn't before, economics. I really wanted to understand the world. I became far more involved in local organizations, in Islamic Society of Central Jersey when I lived in New Jersey. More involved in volunteering, more involved in working with people. And really that has been in parallel with IT. That has been my true growth path. And that passion just grew more and more and more until it took me away from IT.
So it wasn't like a moment in time, it was something that was brewing for a long time where
Yes.
your interest in humanities and people continued to grow.
Yes.
And then when the right opportunity came along.
Unexpectedly.
Unexpectedly. So tell me about the Muslim American Society.
Muslim American Society is a large grassroots Muslim organization in the United States, the largest. It is a grassroots organization working with individuals all around the country. Muslim American Society, along with the Islamic Circle of North America, along with Muslim Ummah of North America, these three are probably the leading organizations in creating a grassroots movement in the United States, touching individuals, touching youth, and trying to form a generation of Muslims who are proud of their identity and who are contributing to their society.
Okay.
I was involved in the Muslim American Society from its founding in '92. Because I was involved in volunteering in the mosques before that. And I was in it at one point or another. I had pretty much every position. I was local youth director in the New Jersey chapter at some point. I was on the board of the New Jersey chapter. I led the New Jersey chapter for a little bit over a year. I was on the national board. I was national tarbiyah director, which is human development director in Mass. All of this as volunteer. And then a moment came when I was invited by the board to take the position of executive director. It was the first time I ever took a professional position in the nonprofit sector. And that was a nice break from my IT work.
Yeah.
I took it. I was passionate about it. I loved it. And I discovered that my passion goes beyond just volunteering. And that's how I started in that direction. During those 5 years, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about working with volunteers. I learned a lot about moving people who are passionate but don't necessarily all have the same unified vision, and how to create that, how to deal with the passion of people and the problems of people at the same time. So that was an incredible experience for me. And maybe that's what prepared me for the current position that I have.
Very interesting. Yeah, Steve Jobs had this speech where you just keep doing what you're doing and the dots will connect looking backward. And that seems to be the case here for sure, where one thing prepared you for the next, and even your engineering background and your entrepreneurship background prepared you to lead organizations, bigger and bigger organizations.
You're able to move to the next step if you are prepared.
Yes.
Sometimes the opportunity presents itself, but you didn't prepare yourself.
Yeah.
So the opportunity passes.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. I read that you were invited to West Point for the, what is that initiative called? The Winning Peace.
Winning the Peace.
Winning the Peace.
Winning the Peace project. So I didn't go to West Point, but West Point has a program called Winning the Peace, which enables young cadets to learn about communities, different communities, and to be better rounded, especially so that when they are dealing with different populations around the world, they're able to deal with them better. So I was involved in New Jersey several years in a row. I think it was, if I remember correctly, 6 years in a row.
Was this during your Muslim student?
No, I was not a
Muslim
student
American
anymore.
the-
I was during my tenure in the Muslim American Society.
Okay.
It started before I was executive director. It continued into me being executive director.
Okay.
I loved that program. When you don't know people very well, you have a caricatured view of them.
Yes.
That applies to the cadets when they go to different countries, and also applies to us when we think of West Point cadets.
Yes.
Some of these are very capable and very promising young men and young women who don't know a lot about Islam or Muslims or about South Asians or Arabs, and they welcome the opportunity to learn about them. So every year, they would go to several locations. Some of them were Coptic churches, some of them were mosques, and other communities to learn about them. I am very proud of the fact that I was involved in this project, and I even have a medallion from them
That's very nice.
for the work that was done. And alhamdulillah, we had the opportunity to answer many questions. Some of these cadets didn't even know the basics.
Yeah.
And we had the chance to answer the basics.
Yes. And so it seems to me that you're a natural born teacher and leader. And I've sensed a theme among some of the people that I interview, that the most impactful leaders are also teachers almost by default. So how do you think about this idea?
I didn't think of it this way. It so happens that I volunteered as a teacher for a long time.
There you
So
go.
and I
So
enjoyed
I'm onto
doing that.
something then.
The first volunteering I did was teaching in Sunday schools,
Okay.
at different mosques, at different places where I lived.
Yeah.
And that was beautiful because you could see the impact of your work. You could see at the beginning of the year where you're dealing with the students. I was dealing with younger students, even getting them to sit and listen was a challenge sometimes. But to see them at the beginning of the year and to see them in the middle and see them at the end,
Yes.
that was such a beautiful experience. And I built on that. But I will not say I am a natural born leader. I will say that I have made an effort to learn and to improve. The biggest impact on my life as a leader was my father, who was a person by inclination, a natural born leader. And I learned so much from him. Just like one of the fundamentals of leadership for me, my leadership philosophy, is to put the people first. And that leadership is not about being the boss of you, but it's about enabling people and equipping people and listening to them. These are all things that I learned from my father, who spent many hours, talking to me about his experiences and his life.
Tell me more about your father.
My father was an Egyptian Navy officer who eventually left the Navy and worked in Qatar Navigation, and then eventually had his own company in the Gulf. I lived in Gulf countries for 10 years. Beautiful experience in my life. I lived in Qatar, Doha, one of my favorite cities in the world. I lived in Dubai, in UAE, a beautiful place.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah, for 6 years and 4 years. And during that time, my father always shared his experience. He traveled frequently, and he would come back and he would share with me his experience in this place, his experience in that place, and his life experience. So he had an enormous impact on my life. He has passed away in 2013. Here I am quite a few years afterwards, for 13 years afterwards, and he is very, very present in my life. I frequently remember, oh, he taught me this and he did this with me.
Yeah. We are very fortunate when we have parents who we look up to and who continue to be present in our work and in our thoughts all the time.
I was very, very fortunate indeed. Whether it is my mother's impact on my personality, my father's teachings, these were the things that shaped me. Rahimahumullah.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Working with an organization such as Bait-ul-Maal, headquartered in Texas.
Yes.
How's that experience?
So I was fortunate to have a rewarding professional experience. I love IT. I still love IT. Like if you open my laptop right now, you will see Visual Studio Code open. So I continue to love it. But the reality is that humanitarian relief is more rewarding. And I feel that I have a greater impact. All my life, I would watch the news, and tragedies would happen here or there, and I would shake my head, and there's next to nothing I can do but dua. And dua matters, by the way.
Yes.
Dua is something you can do, and it does have an impact, and it does make a difference. But dua alone, it feels like I need to do more. And I feel very fortunate that I'm in a position right now where not always, but frequently, I'm able to respond. When the earthquake happened in Turkey, I heard about the earthquake at 3 o'clock in the morning. I got a call from Turkey. We had a major earthquake. And at 9 o'clock in the morning, one of my employees calls and he says, "You heard about the earthquake in Turkey? We need to do something about this. Why aren't we doing anything?" And I told him, wonderful person. And I told him, Abdullah, I've been working on this at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I haven't sent the email yet, that's all. But we already had the exec together. We already were starting to work on it. So the ability to respond makes you feel empowered. And frankly, a lot of people's frustration is the sense of powerlessness.
Yes.
You're in a situation, you can't do anything about it, and this builds frustration. When you can do something, even if you can't solve the problem, but you can address the problem, you can do something about it. It is so rewarding. And I think that's why, even if tomorrow I went back to IT and I'm no longer the CEO of Baitulmaal, I will continue to work with Baitulmaal. I will continue to volunteer and help in whichever way I can, because it is just too impactful. I'm not going to meet Allah on the last day and say, I fixed 20 bugs. But I love the thought that Allah will meet me and say, meet this person. You've never heard of them, but they were impacted by you.
That would be a life well lived.
That is what I look forward to. And I always have to remind myself, none of this counts unless it's sincere.
Yes. That's so true, and I'm very happy to hear that. And going back to what you said about feeling helpless when you're surrounded by or when you're hearing about a crisis and you want to do something about it, but most people don't have the tools to at their own disposal to go and do something about it. And perhaps even more frustrating is the fact that we don't have a large number of organizations that have earned trust over the years, where you can say that, hey, I'm going to make a donation here, and it's going to go to where I intended to go. So how does an organization, and for that matter a person, build trust in today's world?
Trust is so crucial. It's really our capital. And you shouldn't expect people to just trust you because you're nice. I think trust is earned with verification, with documentation, with a delightful experience I had 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago in Ramadan. A person walks up to me and he said, there are so many organizations and they all talk a good game, and they all say so many things. But I went to Pakistan where you had a project and I saw the project that you did. And also, so that we don't congratulate ourselves too much, also one of the painful experiences is that one of our donors, he donated for a project, a special project. It happened to be also in Pakistan. And the project stumbled. We were not able to execute the project, not on time, not to specification. We were assured by the people on the ground the project is complete. And then when we went on the ground, we saw it was shabby, to say the least. It was not up to our standards, and it was only complete in the most technical definition of the word.
Okay.
It was not. It was not well done. It was not complete. We contacted the donor, and we sent an apology, and we said, we're going to do another project for you. So I've had both experiences, but alhamdulillah, overwhelmingly, we were able to execute the projects that we promised. And because we work in places where many of our donors travel, our donors frequently have the chance to see our work, whether it is in Syria or Palestine or East Africa or Pakistan. And alhamdulillah, people come to us and they say, I've seen this project. And they see their name sometimes or their father's name on the plaque. They see the school that we built or the well that we dug. So alhamdulillah, that's how trust is built. But for people to just give you trust because they know who you are, that only goes so far.
Yeah. And I read a book called Trust, and the central premise of that book is the fundamental difference between societies that have developed commercially, economically, and those that have not or have been left behind is the fundamental presence of trust in some places and the fundamental lack of trust in other places, whether it is for commerce or for development work or just for interpersonal communication. So I think trust is such an essential element to make everything go.
Money is trust. No trust, your money is worth nothing. Trade is trust. If I don't trust that the product you're giving me is going to deliver, then there is no value in the transaction.
Yeah.
So I agree. It's the fabric that makes society function.
Yes. And then I have a professor who teaches about trust and how to build it, and she says that it's a triangle that is 3 corners of the triangle are empathy, authenticity, and capability. And so
I like that.
So I think that's a very good set of tools to begin building trust on.
Yes.
To be authentic, like you said, to say what you mean what you say, to deliver what you promise, and then to actually do it, like you said, out of sincerity and not as just a simple transaction. So that's brilliant. One other aspect that I wanted to touch, your idea of a modern day young Muslim person growing up in the United States. And you said that you were involved in teaching and making sure that you raise a generation of people who take pride in their identity and then also are good contributing members of society. I want to touch upon both of those things. How does a Muslim identity reconcile with an American identity in 2026?
So I'll address first the issue of Muslim identity, American identity. These are different dimensions of identity. There is no contradiction between the two, and it's a misperception that there could be even. It's, you're male or female. You're engineer or physician or businessman. You are of Pakistani origin or of some other origin. You happen to be born in the United States or happen to be born in France. These are all different dimensions. None of these contradict each other. In reality, none of these identities carry moral value. It does not carry moral value that you happen to be born male, or that you happen to be born from a wealthy family, or you happen to be born black, or happen to be born in Malaysia. None of these carry moral value. The identity that carries moral value is the identity in relationship to your Creator. That is the one that truly matters. All the other things are life happenstance or life choices. And that identity is so important. The first one who defines himself in the Quran is Jesus alayhi salam, Isa. And he says, Inni Abdullah. When he speaks in the cradle, the first thing he says, I am the servant of Allah. That's who he is. And then it proceeds, if you read the rest of the ayat, it all proceeds from the fact that he's Abdullah. Okay, he has given me the book and he did not make me a wicked person and I'm good to my mother. All of this proceeds from being Abdullah. And if we look around, the hope that we have for young Muslims is for them to have a strong sense of identity related to their Creator. When you have a strong relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you have a strong sense of purpose. When you don't have that relationship, then you find a substitute for purpose. The substitute is entertainment. The substitute is fun or enjoyment. The substitute is accumulation of wealth. These are all substitutes, and they do not add up to happiness. They end up to momentary enjoyment. And enjoyment and happiness are two completely different things. Enjoyment is temporary, and it is external. Happiness is long-lasting, and it is internal. Happiness is within you. When you're a happy person because you are fulfilled, then things happen to you, and you are sad for a while, but you bounce back because your normal state is in a state of consistency with your life purpose, consistent presence with your Creator. You understand you have a setback, but Allah is there, He's all merciful. You have a success, let it not get to my head. It is just a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I have to be grateful. When you don't have that, then you deprive yourself from a true sense of purpose and true happiness. And that is what I want for young Muslim men and young Muslim women, older Muslim men, older Muslim women. And by the way, this is applicable to people of other faiths as well, because the fundamental component is a relationship to the Creator. That is so crucial. We know this in our field, for example. It's very obvious. The numbers back it up. There is no mistake about it. People of faith donate enormously more than people who are far from their faith. People who are close to their faith, our typical donation is in the range of $200. Typically, it is frequent and recurring. People who are not faith-based, a typical donation is $10. Typically, once a year. Okay? This is not to put down the people who are in a different phase of their life. This is not my intent at all. But this is to point out that people who have that connection, it affects them so deeply. And it transforms how they behave. Because a person of faith sees the donation itself as a win. It's not a loss of $200.
Yes.
This is $200 invested. This is $100 worth of impact.
Yes. Understood. How do you see this Muslim identity in the context of the larger American identity? Because, the United States is some people say it's a salad bowl, some people say it's a gravy, different cultures from all over the world come over here and intermingle. How do you see it?
The United States has been multicultural from the first day. Islam has been present from the first day. From very, very early on, Islam has been impactful because of different historical events that have been at different times attempts to erase the Native American identity, to erase the Muslim identity, to erase very, very early Chinese immigrants who helped build the railroads, to erase the black identity at different times. But those identities usually, not always, re-emerge. We now, the early Chinese immigrants in America are not here anymore, but we know about them. But Black America is strong and is impactful and has helped shape America in so many ways. Some remembered, many not remembered, but it has been a beautiful addition to America in many ways. And it has been maybe critical to the development of Islam in America. Sometimes we think of Islam as the Islam of the immigrants, when in reality Islam in America is the Islam of people who have been brought here long before the most recent waves of immigration.
Yes.
Okay? Forced immigration, if you want to call it that. So I think that the Muslim experience in America is yet another layer in the development of America, and I think it is one of the most beautiful chapters in the development of America, with its struggles, with its weakness, with the targeting, with the Islamophobia, with all of this. It is still overall a beautiful experience because we have something positive to offer. We are people who are faith-based, who are ethics-based, who are principle-based. Your Muslim neighbor is not very likely to teach your children to do drugs. It could happen, and it does happen, but is less likely to do so. And your Muslim neighbor is more likely to be a positive influence, even if you yourself, whether you yourself are a Muslim family or not. So I think we have a lot to offer, and I think we have not even begun to show what we can offer. For the past 50, 60 years, there has been a lot of focus internally developing the Muslim community, and the time has come for us to be present in the Senate, to be present in the governorships, to be present in the communities, to be present as community leaders and faith leaders, and impacting society as a whole.
So going back to the work that your organization does, Baitulmaal does, a lot of our viewers would be very interested in the impact that you've been able to have in Palestine. Tell me more about that work. And you mentioned previously that some of that work, some of that capability was pre-positioned,
Mm.
perhaps because of a longer-term engagement with Palestine. So you had some capability on the ground. So tell me more about that.
We've been involved in Palestine for a long time. In fact, when the organization was first formed, the idea was to bring aid to Palestine and to Jordan, and then from there it grew, before my time. When the events of October 7th happened, if you recall, there was an immediate closure of any aid going in or out immediately after those events. Before that, we were sending normal aid, but now we realize that there's going to be a major humanitarian disaster. Then in November, that was October, in November they announced that they were going to open the crossings in December. So we started working right away. We developed a pipeline from Jordan, which is a pipeline we had before, but we developed a new pipeline from Egypt to deliver aid, because you can send aid through Rafah crossing. And Karm Abu Salim, and there are different crossings, and we want to make sure we have the widest pipeline possible. We prepared food and other aid, humanitarian relief, and we prepared trucks so that as soon as the crossing opened in December, we were able to send our aid. We were able to send aid in December. There was a convoy in December, a convoy in January, and then February, and then March, and then April. Like every month we were able to do it. There was an interruption here or there because of the crossings would close, but then they would reopen. We dedicated a workshop to be a tent factory that built weatherproof, fireproof tents in Egypt. I had the chance to visit those workshops myself. And we developed those as substitute homes for people who are displaced. We prepared the food in Egypt. I learned early on that you need to ask people what they need. So we would send them, the food that they want. So they prefer basmati rice instead of Egyptian rice. We send them basmati rice. So we prepared that, and we were able to send aid. And then when the big closure happened last year, it was like about 10 months or so. Before the closure, we had built the first Bait-ul-Maal Hope School in Gaza. We didn't know that there was going to be this long closure, but it was prepared. So we were able to deliver education during the closure. We had Bait-ul-Maal Kitchen. We were able to deliver food during the closure. We had the water desalination project. We were able to develop clean water during the closure. We had the medical convoys. So we were able to deliver medical aid during the convoy, not medical supplies because of the closure, but we were able to have convoys of physicians go in and out. So we were able to have multiple projects during the closure, alhamdulillah. If you prepare, there are many, many ideas.
Yes. And how does one lead a team during this crisis?
It's not easy. First of all, I really want to credit the staff of Bait-ul-Maal, all the magic that happened. The thing that I am proudest of in Bait-ul-Maal is the people. We have an incredible team of people, whether it is on the ground helping us. We have the international team led by Ahmed Sharif that is really super capable and super well connected to deliver aid quickly in areas that we couldn't even reach before. We have a communications team here that is really, really powerful, that was able to help us even during COVID, that we were able to transition to online. We have, alhamdulillah, an operations team that's very capable. So really the magic in Bait-ul-Maal is that we try to recruit the best people who are driven by passion and empower them to be able to work. Now, to answer your question directly, one of the defining characteristics of leaderships in a crisis is the ability to keep you cool under pressure. Somebody has to be able to keep their cool and has to be able to plan systematically. Then beyond that, there has to be clear communication so that people know exactly what they need to do. And a third component that is not every leadership style adopts, but I absolutely adopted, the idea of mission control. That the decisions as much as possible have to be made by the people who are closer to the ground. What do I know living here in the United States about a crisis that's happening in Palestine? Okay? Like seriously, no matter how educated I am, even if I were the smartest person in the world, and I'm far from that, even if I knew the best and I did a PhD about Palestine and I didn't, okay, but even if I did it, what do I know what's happening in the ground?
Yeah.
I mean, war is chaos.
Especially if the situation is changing every minute.
Yes.
Yes.
So what I have to do is I have to equip and empower and trust my international team, who equips and empowers and trusts the team on the ground. And fortunately, we have a team on the ground. Then we're able to deliver. Then we're able to listen to the needs of the people on the ground and then respond to those needs. I want to share with you, I love sharing experiences we learn from because that's how we grow. One of our other mistakes, my first year in Bait-ul-Maal, we were very proud. We sent a container of medical supplies to a hospital in Somalia, in Galkayo, actually in Bandiradli. They received the supplies and they sent us a very nice thank you letter. And they said, but you know, you sent an enormous amount of supplies. These are not the things that we really need. For example, we had gauze, huge amount of gauze. We don't need all of this. And that was the last time that Bait-ul-Maal sent medical supplies because we thought it would be a good idea. We have to assess the needs on the ground, listen to what people actually need, and then respond to that need. It's not only how you become more effective, it's also how you build trust.
Yes.
Because trust is not only with the donor, trust is with the recipient as well, the beneficiary. So I think listening to what people need, having a level of mission control where decisions are pushed, and at the same time having a high level empowerment, I think these are some of the components of leadership in a crisis.
Yes, I read somewhere that the word that was used was hyper empowering the team.
Yes.
So, and it's just, yes, we all know what we're trying to do.
Yes.
I'm here to support you. Just go for it.
Yes, and that's my job. People think sometimes, you know, a leader's job is to hold people accountable. I'm the boss of you. It's the first thing. I'm here to help you. I'm here to support you. I'm here to serve you.
Yes.
Okay? And your success, that's my success. Yes. In the end, what I want is for the person who's present on the ground to have everything they need to have the greatest possible impact. That's success for me.
Yes.
Other than that, you know, it's ego trips.
Yes, true. And that truly is the difference between a boss and a leader. Yes. A leader is almost like a servant leader. You're here to support, you're here to guide, but then you also are here to help navigate crises. Very true, very true. Besides this first shipment of medical supplies, tell me about a time when you met with failure or disappointment.
I'll tell you, our first experience trying to grow at the very beginning. We were trying to have satellite offices so that we can deliver aid directly and not necessarily always rely on partners that some of whom are very reliable, some are not. The idea was not to try to substitute the partners, but the idea is to have presence so that we are able to inspect and see things as they develop. So we built an office in one of the countries, and frankly, the failure was from here, from Dallas. We did not equip that office properly. We hired somebody who we thought was good, and that person was good. We did not give them clear direction. We asked them to develop a plan, and we weren't seeing the results that we wanted because there was a disconnect. And when we looked at why the office is not developing, we realized in the end that we did not have the right chain. That person did not receive training from us. That person doesn't have a continuous line on exactly what we're doing, so their plans are disconnected from our plans. That's back 2018. Yes, that was a problem back in 2018 into 2019. And alhamdulillah, we were able to go back and we were able to develop the office better. And we immediately saw better results. Eventually, we brought somebody from outside to manage the region. not just that one office. And that was the missing link, where we have a senior person who is directly connected to the executive team here, and at the same time directly connected to the three different offices in that region. That was the critical element. In the beginning, we didn't even have the funds to try to do this. But as we developed, we had the funds, we had the know-how, and we were able to improve. So that was one of those failed experiments that we learned from.
And how did that impact the organization going forward?
Every failure carries within it the seed of success.
Yes.
And by the way, every success carries within the potential failure because you tend to rest on your successes and you tend to learn from your failures. So we now have a system for the offices we didn't have before. And I claim we have a successful system right now, but I will tell you without going necessarily into too many boring details, this is maybe the third reinvention of the system before we had something that we are comfortable with. Okay. So we learned from the first experience and we went from failure to some success. And then that was not a standard we could necessarily apply to different offices. So we had to do a second phase and then a third phase. And only with the third phase are we now in a place where we're comfortable. And I can claim now we have a system that can easily open a new office in a new country, and I have a high probability of success.
So you've evolved as an organization from fundraising and kind of just passing along the funds to implementation partners to now fundraising and also monitoring on the ground. And now, in fact, like you mentioned, the school in Palestine, now you're also doing the actual implementation yourself.
Yes, before we implementing was, we always implemented, but that was the lesser part. It grew, but we did not and we don't want to move away from our partners. Yeah. Some of these partners are wonderful, and when you have a specialized partner who knows what they're doing and they do it right, then you want to stick with them.
Yes.
So I don't want to move away from the partners, but I want to make sure that I have a closer eye on the work. And in a place where I don't have a partner, a good partner, I want to be present myself.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You mentioned that that's so true that within success lie the seeds of failure.
Yes.
So tell me about one of those times.
So I'll tell you before my career in Baitulmaal. Okay. My first experience when I became an independent contractor in the IT business. When you're an independent contractor, you take contracts with companies. They range from 3 months to a year and a half or 2 years. And you can work on it. Sometimes it's on-site, sometimes it's off-site. Alhamdulillah, my first few projects were quite successful. I had one with Merrill Lynch. I had one with Independence Blue Cross. I had one with Telcordia in Telecom. Very, very nice. Then I took my first off-site project where I work from home.
Okay.
And that was an unmitigated failure on my part. I was able to deliver, and maybe the client was none the wiser, but from my perspective, it was a total failure because I did not have the discipline of managing my time. So, I would wake up in the morning and, go to the store and then do this and do that. And then 3 days have passed. I've done a total of 3 minutes worth of work. Okay, I've sent an email, whatever it is. That was terrible because I didn't have that discipline. And I was fortunate enough that it happened relatively early in my career. I shut down the idea of taking a project off-site. I went back to working on-site, and I took my time, it was 6 months or so, to create a system for myself. The second time I took a project off-site, I had a system. I literally would tell my wife, if you need to call me, you call me. Okay, there is no coming down. I worked from my basement. There is no coming down to the basement casually or so. I'm at the office from 8 to 5. I am not reachable. I have a 1 hour break, and that's it. And I forced myself into a schedule which I had never done before.
Yeah.
And then I met with success. Then I was productive. Productive to the point where I became more productive from home than I was going to a client's office. That was a learning experience. And I think that's a situation where my early success carried the seed of failure because I thought, hey, I got this. I know how to do the work. Yeah. I figured out how to do all the basics. But then the failure itself carried the seeds of success. And because of the experience, I think I have, from that time until today, I think I am much better at managing my time. I don't need anybody to watch my time. I don't need to be told, you need to be here from this time to that time. I know what I'm doing, and I'm driven by the outcome in the end. The end of the story is that I stayed with a very strict schedule for about 6 months or so, which is what I set for myself. Then after that, I could trust myself to have a more flexible schedule.
And that is such an important lesson in today's world when so many people work from home. And it is so easy to get caught up in all the things that seem important but are not urgent and not really
Yes.
that important,
Yes.
and not really relevant to the work that you have to deliver. But it is so tempting to show a level of progress, a level of process, and not being focused on the outcome. And you can lose sight of the outcome very quickly.
Very much so.
And that's why I think so many organizations are now insisting that people come back to the office to work, because it's very hard to have that self-discipline.
Yes.
But I was telling my nephews and nieces the other day that if you want to get anywhere in life, you have to do hard things. And hard things require discipline, require the discipline to not do the thing that you want to do, but to do the thing that you have to do.
This is so true. Almost all growth is outside your comfort zone.
Yes.
So get yourself out the comfort zone, in the good place, out of the comfort zone, and then you'll grow.
Yes.
I agree completely.
And then that goes on to the idea of being able to delay gratification.
Yes.
Because you were talking earlier about what is the purpose in life.
Yeah.
Is the purpose in life impact, or is the purpose in life entertainment?
Yes.
And what gives you joy? And I think the joy that comes from doing something or having done something that took a long time, and you had to do one brick at a time, and then when that turns into something beautiful and meaningful and impactful, that joy is much deeper.
Yes. And it erases the effort.
Yes.
Okay? So it's effort, and then you see an outcome. I'll tell you a transformative experience I had. My first trip with Bait-ul-Maal was in 2018, late 2018. I went to Somalia and Kenya. And to tell you the truth, from the time I started with Bait-ul-Maal, I officially started Bait-ul-Maal in June 2018. Unofficially, I had started in March, but officially in June. And from that time until I went to Somalia and Kenya, I was suffering from imposter syndrome. It didn't feel real. I mean, I have reports, I have numbers, I have money coming in and money being sent. And I knew it was real. Like my mind understood, yes, real people are being helped, but my heart didn't, okay? So this is the difference between, ilm al-yaqeen and ayn al-yaqeen. To know it to be true is different from seeing it, until I went to the field. When I went to the field, it became real. One of the experiences is Abdulaziz Gedi, who sits on the board. He's our treasurer. He's Somali. He arranged for me a meeting with about 15 graduates of An-Nawawi School, which is an orphanage and school that we have been supporting for many years, long before my time. And these people were graduated. Men and women, all of them well-adjusted, all of them with jobs or businesses. One of them was a general, I remember, like 3 of them were physicians. Maybe half of them were business people of different kind. All of them were married, or I think one was too young to, wasn't married yet, but all of them pretty much in a good place in their life. And I saw this, and I started thinking to myself, what would have happened to these people had my predecessors not delivered the aid they delivered? That was such an impactful story. This is like the 10th time I tell that story, because it was so impactful on me. It became real. It really, really became real. During the same trip, I went to Galkayo University, and I learned that a year's education, fully paid A to Z, everything, is $500. And it hit me that work really, really changes people. It changes people's lives. Those young men, those little boys, those little girls, if we fail to help them, what will happen to them? Many of them will be victims of different kinds. Most of them will not have the life that they have right now. So I was overwhelmed with a sense of responsibility and at the same time a sense of joy. Yes, my work does make a difference. Here is a person. If you come to my office right now, I have different things on the walls. My favorite artifact is a tablet, not an electronic tablet, an actual tablet that children learn on by writing on and erasing with water and then
Yes.
writing again.
We have those in Pakistan too.
Yes.
They were part of our
I
childhood also.
absolutely love this.
That's brilliant. That's
Yeah.
brilliant. But I'm so happy you talked about imposter syndrome. That's something that
Yes.
I talk to my team about a lot.
Yes.
And to be honest, it's something that I struggled with for a long time also.
Yeah.
And I think if you're going to be authentic and if you're going to be truly sincere in what you're trying to do, because you continue to level up in the responsibilities that you have in life, so self-doubt and imposter syndrome are a part, and almost an essential part of getting to where you want to go.
A level of humility
Yes.
is essential. And I think if you're too confident, if you think you know it all,
Yes.
then I think you prepare yourself for failure. And I think it goes beyond imposter syndrome. I think that's also a defining feature of good leadership. My role as a CEO is not to know everything and to tell people what to do. My role is to find the best people who are smarter than I am, who know what I don't know, who are more specialized than I am, to equip them and to trust them and to allow them to do what they do best. And then let them show me the magic, because I don't have the magic. My background is not humanitarian relief. Our Chief Growth Officer, John Janney, who started off as Director of Communications, brilliant. He knows so much, and he has so many solutions to so many problems. The thing is not that he can get the solution that that I don't have. He has a solution I didn't know to think of. He has approaches I don't have. In his field, he absolutely does what I could never do. I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the training, I don't have the talent to, he's the one who's come up with a lot of the taglines of Baitulmaal. In digital, we have Nida Kazi, who deals with all sorts of digital platforms in ways. My background is IT. I don't have the knowledge or the patience to do what she does. So she's able to reach people. She's able to tell the story. She's able to communicate our message. And she's able to do it on X. She's able to do it on Facebook. She's able to do it on Snapchat in ways that I could not do.
Yeah.
So it's having the right person in the right place makes a big difference. Even the people who do work that's in the background. Sister Fazila, who manages the accounts receivable. Okay? Accounts receivable is something that completely in the background does not deal with the donors, does not deal with the beneficiaries. Absolutely crucial to make the machine function. Having these people who have the passion for the work, this is really, this is where the magic comes. And as soon as leadership thinks that it can do these tasks, then it thinks its way into failure.
Yeah.
So I've said it before, and I am absolutely proudest of the team that we have in Baitulmaal. We have more than 40 people. I mentioned 4. Okay, but alhamdulillah, these are the ones who define Baitulmaal. If tomorrow we lost everything, the first thing I would work on is assembling the team.
Yeah. Avengers assemble.
Yes.
Because you're right, humility accompanied by respect for the capabilities of the people around you, to be able to realize that they can do their job much better than any one person, or the leader
Yes.
can do their job.
Yes.
And I think that's the magic element that makes dream teams come together.
Mhm.
I have just a couple more questions that I
Of
ask all of my guests. What is your definition of a life well lived?
A life of service. I believe in worshiping Allah by serving His creation. I believe that Allah created us for a purpose. Our lives are not for naught. We are not here to eat and drink. Cats eat and drink. I think we are favored by Allah with the favor of intellect and and moral responsibility. And we are also given an extra responsibility by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to exercise that moral responsibility. And I believe that a life well lived is a life of doing what we were created to do, to worship Allah, not by praying and fasting alone. Praying and fasting are just what fuels the lamp that allows it to shine bright. But by praying and fasting and making, and tasbih, so that we can also help people, serve people, live fruitful lives, benefit ourselves. We are entrusted with our own bodies, our own health, with our own minds, so learning and growing. We are entrusted with our families.
Yes.
Even if you're not the parent in the family, you're still entrusted with the health of the family. So being good to our families, starting with the smallest and growing. We are entrusted with our societies to build a better society. I hope to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the last day, having left two forms of impact. An impact that I was deliberate in forming, and Allah puts barakah in it so that it has the impact I want.
Mm-hmm.
I always remember how the waqf of Uthman continues until today.
Yes.
And impact I did not plan for, but Allah willed that I have a positive impact I didn't even plan for. But I did something and Allah put barakah in it, and I'm surprised on the last day with that impact. And I think if we have this, for me, that is a life well lived. If Allah is pleased with me, and Allah forgives the many mistakes and errors and sins and problems and shortcomings, and does not allow them to harm me or others, and puts barakah in the little work that I do, I think that's a life well lived.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. What would you like your legacy to be?
My legacy is my family first and foremost, that I raise so that they live a life of purpose. Then I have had the opportunity of teaching, volunteering, but teaching people. I think my legacy are some of the people who have either been taught by me in school or mentored by me through forums like Muslim American Society. If I had a positive impact on them, that's my legacy. And then third, my legacy are the beneficiaries. I think one of the greatest misconceptions in this field is the idea that a humanitarian relief organization is an organization that takes money from people who have money to give it to poor, needy people. I think this is wrong with almost every word in it. A humanitarian relief organization, Bait-ul-Maal, is a professional services organization, so that we allow people who have compassion, so that we allow them for their money to have the greatest possible impact. And we don't give money, we rarely ever give money to people. We generate programs that help people. And these people are not poor, hungry people, poor, needy people. These are deserving beneficiaries, people who have gone through a difficult moment in their life, and just like you and I deserve the help of our brothers and sisters around the world if we were in trouble and we were afflicted by war or earthquake or flood or lack of water or illness. Similarly, they are people, dignified people, who are honored by Allah Himself. Allah who has, Karramna Bani Adam, we have honored the children of Adam, who are deserving of help today. And I have seen it on the ground how some of our volunteers are former beneficiaries. So I think that's the right outlook, a professional service organization that is helping compassionate people create hope for people who are deserving of that hope.
Very, very thoughtful and very profound. And my last question.
Yes.
Young people are always looking for inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
If there is one thing you could put on a billboard, if there is one thing you could tell young people,
Yes.
what would it be?
Volunteering your time is better than donating your money. I think young people who are involved in the local masjid, who are involved in the local community, it helps develop them. It developed me.
Yeah.
I learned far more about management from my work in the Muslim American Society than anything I learned in management class. Volunteering shapes you. Volunteering creates a sense of purpose. It puts you in close proximity to people who also want to volunteer, who also are driven by a sense of purpose. It puts you close to mentors who have done what you are doing right now for many years before you, who will be the shortcut for you, who will show you the right way. I think that will help shape young people more than many classes, many videos, and many books. This is da'wah in practice. Not simply learning, but volunteering.
So volunteer.
Volunteer, be involved early, frequently, consistently, and do it for the rest of your life. Don't quit.
I don't think there would be any better way to end this podcast.
Allah yabarak feek.
Thank you so much for
You're
your
welcome.
time today. Thank you. And that was our brother Mazen Mokhtar, CEO of Bait-ul-Maal U.S.A. And what an incredible conversation. Thank you so much.
Jazakallah khairan. This was beautiful.
Thank
Jazakallah khair. I really enjoyed this.